In the headlines, 6 years after, Kano man still searching for his missing family. Police rescue over 100 kidnapped victims, neutralize 5 suspected bandits in Kano State. Jigawa government suspends commissioner over alleged mismanagement of Ramadan feeding funds. On the foreign scene, hundreds rescued after flooding in Australia. Hello and welcome to the news update on Trust Television. I am Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for joining us, and now the news in full. A Kano-based man, Shazali Yahya Sani, is seeking the help of the state and federal governments as well as well-meaning Nigerians to locate his wife and 5 children who went missing in 2018. The aggrieved father, who had sought the help of a judicial committee of inquiry set up by the Kano State government to investigate cases of missing children, says he is yet to locate them 6 years down the line. In an exclusive interview with Trust TV, Sani revealed that over the past 6 years, he had exhausted all his life savings trying to locate his family, whom he believed is still alive somewhere. The report.
6 years after the disappearance of his wife and 5 children, Shazali Sani makes a desperate cry for help. Shazali, an auto mechanic, expresses his anguish, having exhausted his savings in searching for his missing family, whom he believes are still alive.
December, ta tafi Jos za ta je ta ga babanta, ta tafi da yarana guda 5 'ya'yanta.
My nightmare started in December 2017 when my wife traveled to Plateau State with my children, and they had the intention then to return back after the New Year break was over. That was the last I set eyes on my wife and 5 kids. I called her and she told me she was with her father in Jos, and later when I tried to call, I could not reach her. I called her father and mother, and both of them said they have no idea of her whereabouts. Efforts by Shazali to know the whereabouts of his children made him appear before a Kano State Judicial Committee of Inquiry into cases of missing children. He says his plea for intervention has led nowhere, leaving him in emotional trauma over his family's mysterious disappearance. I have searched and I have been to Lagos and Abuja once I hear any clue from her family about where she might be. Her mother was invited to the panel, and she made a confession that convinced me that my kids and wife are still alive. I am optimistic my children are somewhere kept away from me for the past 6 years for no reason. I have the feeling they are alive. I tried all my possible best. I am still pleading with the authorities concerned to assist me in recovering my family. Abdul Samad was 12 when he was taken. Kulthum was 11 years at the time. Zainab was just 9, Yusuf was 7 years, and my Sadiq was 5 years old, while my wife was 31 as at the time they got missing. As the search continues, Shazali holds on to hope, longing for the day his family will return home.
Quite a sad one there. Now, away from that, Katsina Agro Rangers of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps successfully repelled an attack by suspected bandits on the federal government's grain silo located in the Dutsima local government area of Kano State. Spokesperson for the NCCDC, Buhari Hamisu, disclosed in a statement released in Katsina on Sunday that the attack occurred on April 6 around 1 a.m. The bandits aimed to destroy the silo and abduct its manager, Lawal Shitu Yar-Adua. Responding swiftly, the Agro Rangers engaged the bandits in a fierce gun duel that lasted over 2 hours, preventing any damage or abduction. The NCCDC has since deployed additional personnel to the location and bolstered the firepower of its operatives to forestall any future attacks. It's important to know that the silo plays a crucial role in storing grains for distribution to the people of Katsina, Zamfara, and Sokoto states. Hamisu stressed that the NCCDC remains committed to promoting safety and security for the people of the state and Nigeria as a whole, ensuring the production of critical national assets and infrastructure. Still in Kano State, the police in Katsina have rescued 100 kidnapped victims and eliminated 5 suspected bandits terrorizing residents across the state. The spokesman of the command, ASP Sadiq Abubakar, disclosed this while briefing newsmen on the activities of the command in the month of March 2024. Trust TV's Abdullahi Yamadi tells us more.
According to Abubakar, during the period under review, the command also apprehended 11 suspected killers and 29 suspected rapists, adding that it recovered over 658 domestic animals from suspected bandits across the state. The PPRO added that 51 criminal cases have been reported to the police, including armed robbery, culpable homicide, kidnapping for ransom, and cattle rustling, among others, in the month of March. According to the command, 9 suspects were arrested for robbery-related offenses, while 19 sundry cases in connection with incitement, intimidations, and membership of gangs were also recorded.
This first case is that of the arrest of 3 suspected armed robbers and the recovery of 2 suspected stolen phones. On the 21st of March 2024, at about 23:00 hours, the command succeeded in arresting the trio of one Mohammed Haliru, male of Unguwar Sodenji Quarters, Malumfashi local government area of the state, and 2 Mohammed Nuhu, male aged 19 years old of Sodenji Quarters of Malumfashi local government area, and 1 Hamza Bala, male aged 19 years of Paymaster Quarters, also in Malumfashi local government area, in connection with a suspected case of criminal conspiracy and armed robbery.
The police also assured that out of the number of cases reported, 30 involving 64 suspects have been charged to courts of competent jurisdiction for prosecution. The police command, while assuring of its relentless commitments to rid the state of criminals elements, however, solicited continuous support and cooperation from residents, urging them not to give up until the enemies of the state are defeated. Abdullahi Yamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
The ongoing relocation of displaced persons from internally displaced persons camps back to their communities in Kano State by the Zulum administration is set to continue despite setbacks due to attacks by insurgents. The Kano State Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Usman Tar, re-echoed the state government's drive to continue addressing the humanitarian crisis in the state, while also giving an update on the recent IDP camp fires in Maiduguri during an exclusive interview with Trust TV.
The relocation of IDPs back to their ancestral homes is a deliberate policy of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kano State, Professor Babagana Umar Zulum. It came to our realization that the continued stay of the IDPs in the urban areas and in foreign countries is no longer sustainable. It has increased our bill in terms of palliatives and also in terms of sustenance of the camps. Yes, IDPs are willing to go back, and we have a solemn duty to ensure their safety and security. So village by village, local government by local government, the federal forces have, the Operation Harding K has helped us in order to deploy troops to secure those villages and towns. Well, we have received reports, situation reports on the deliberate infernos by some entities, but this is a matter that is being investigated, The person that made that claim is in detention, and the NGOs that he pinpointed have been summoned for interrogation.
And on to health matters. In response to the meningitis outbreak in Imo State, the World Health Organization has provided essential medical supplies to aid containment efforts. Pharmacist Katogwa Emmanuel, representing WHO's interim Northeast Emergency Manager, Dr. Kumshida Yakubu Balami, handed over the supplies at the Imo State University Teaching Hospital in Damaturu. These resources will enhance care for healthcare workers and patients, particularly in light of the emergence of a new strain, type C meningitis. The donation signposts WHO's commitment to supporting local health authorities in managing public health crisis effectively. Governor Umar Namadi of Jigawa State has taken decisive action by suspending Aminu Kanta, the Commissioner of the Ministry of Commerce, following allegations of mismanagement of funds allocated to the Iftar feeding program in Babura local government area. The suspension, effective immediately, underscores the government's commitment to transparency and integrity in governance, as emphasized in a statement released by the Secretary to the State Government, Bala Ibrahim. Governor Namadi's directive to suspend Kanta was conveyed in a letter delivered by Ibrahim, highlighting the seriousness with which the government is addressing the issue. The Iftar feeding program, which aimed to provide meals during Ramadan across the 27 local government areas of the state, received a significant allocation of 2.8 billion naira from the State Executive Council. However, allegations of mismanagement have prompted swift action from the state government. Under the program, 600 centers were established with a minimum of 2 feeding points in every political ward, alongside designated centers in higher institutions across the state. The Northern Elders Forum has voiced deep concern regarding the recent dismissal of Reverend Yakubu Pam from his role as Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Christian Pilgrimage Commission. According to Abdulaziz, NEF's Director of Publicity and Advocacy and spokesman, the removal of Reverend Pam is deemed unjustified and has sparked serious apprehension within both the Northern Christian and Muslim communities. The NEF finds the lack of transparency and accountability surrounding this decision troubling, especially since Reverend Pam was not allowed to complete his tenure. Reports suggesting that his belongings were callously discarded from the office, causing him humiliation and disrespect, have further alarmed the NEF. They strongly condemn such behavior and insist that Reverend Pam be treated with the dignity and respect he deserves. Moreover, the NEF questions the appointment of someone from Lagos to replace Reverend Pam, which was the only top position held by Northern Christian. This move raises concerns about the representation of Northern Christians in crucial leadership roles within the government. You're watching the news update on Trust Television, coming up shortly. As new farming season sets in, Kano farmers decry soaring fertilizer prices. More news when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. But if you're just joining us, this is the news update on Trust Television. Let's take a look at our top stories again. You heard that 6 years after, Kano man still searching for his missing family. Police rescue over 100 kidnapped victims, neutralize 5 suspected bandits in Katsina. And now moving on to more stories. As preparations for this year's rice farming gears up in Kano State, some farmers have been expressing concern with the high cost of agricultural inputs. In this report, Trust TV's correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that a bag of fertilizer now costs between 30,300 naira and 40,000 naira, a situation the farmers say does not go well with them.
Muhammad Yau is an irrigation rice farmer in Kura. For several years, he has been cultivating 3 hectares of rice, but this year he is only able to cultivate 1 hectare. High cost of fertilizer, seeds, and other agricultural inputs are largely responsible for the current situation.
To gaskiya dai kusan kalubale da aka fuskanta a wannan noman na rani.
You see, fertilizer is too expensive. Today we are buying fertilizer at between 32,000 naira to 40,000 naira. And then seed, if you want also good seeds, you have to spend a lot of money. Now you can see clearing of the land and having good seeds, coupled with several other agricultural inputs that we use for the cultivation. Things are very expensive, and therefore we expect the worst this year. Shehu Sani is at the transplanting stage. He says last year he had 70 bags of rice paddy, but this year he is not sure of cultivating up to 20 bags.
Last
year in this place I had cultivated 70 bags of rice paddy, but I can tell you this year I'm not sure if I will be able to cultivate up to 20 bags, because I was unable to cultivate the required number of hectare that I cultivated last year. According to All Farmers Association of Nigeria, the lack of government intervention and the failure of some international donor agencies to fully participate on irrigation rice farming are the major contributory factors that may likely lead to poor harvest this year.
The input they are given is sufficient for you to cultivate a hectare. But you know there are farmers now who can do 2, 3 or even much more hectares. So at least that one is another source of input as far as farmers is concerned. Only that we have another concern on top of that one, the mismanagement, the diversion of the input by those who are saddled with the responsibility maybe to distribute the input to us.
The farmers say this year may likely witness shortage of rice paddy due to their inability to cultivate the required hectares as a result of these disturbing challenges.
The challenges to us now is input, high cost of input. And you know, irrigation farming requires you to water your farm. So our next challenge, which is very important as well, is a provision of water, especially for those farmers that are doing their farms along the water channels from the Hadi Jama'are channels section.
Despite this, with effective government intervention that requires dealing with the real farmers and timely intervention to agricultural sector, things may likely change for the better. Idris Jubrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
More on agriculture. Residents of Imo State in southeast Nigeria are calling for the rejuvenation of subsistence farming across the country as part of efforts to achieve food sufficiency. The call is coming in the wake of the current high cost of food items in all markets across the nation. Trust TV's Ajibade Praise has details in this report.
According to many, the culture of subsistence farming, where most homes produce their foods in the years back, was a lifesaver. The practice provides families with the opportunity to produce their food rather than going to buy from the market. It helps to achieve sufficiency for average homes and kept prices of foodstuffs in the market at reasonable rates. Sadly, it is no longer so today, as Nigerians have abandoned this significant culture following civilization and development.
The reason why we are suffering today is because we have less farmers in our country, and we engage ourselves in more packaged food. So if farming can be revived in Nigeria, in various families, I think cost of feeding will be at the minimal rate.
If you have your farm, I have my farm, we will be able to eat good food. Less what's it called, fertilizer, you know, because at times when you eat all this food being produced by fertilizer, you don't know what the thing will do you on your body, to be hazardous. So, but if you plant us, at times you use organic manure. If you have your own, I have my own. One essential thing that the inflation will definitely come down.
While they suggest that returning to the culture could change the narrative in the battle for food security, others believe that the government can play a reasonable role in effecting the desired change.
I think we need to start farming. Both youth, everybody have to start farming with the condition of Nigeria now, the economic of things. Where people can have garden, where they can plant vegetable, cassava for garden protection, those things, it will help. And also I think government should help in providing working materials, machines for farming, and also fertilizer to help the farmers.
Government of Nigeria can even come and give us like fertilizer and give us some people who have nothing to do, give them loan.
Subsistence farming was a thing of pride in the past, as it was a one-home, one-farm kind of settlement among most Nigerians, while those who were not into subsistence farming were often into commercial farming. Either way, every home had a connection with a farm, thereby making food items very affordable, a situation Nigerians are currently craving for. Ajibade Praise, Trust TV News, Owerri.
Away from Nigeria, intense rainfall over the weekend prompted the evacuation of approximately 300 homes in northeast Sydney, according to emergency services. Federal Minister for Emergency Management, Catherine King, noted that flood waters caused extensive damage across the state in a remarkably short period. She emphasized that the New South Wales government is actively assessing the damage and comprehending the disaster's impact. State Minister for Emergency Services, Jihad Dib, reported about 200 flood rescues since Friday, with some areas isolated due to damaged or flooded roads. Dib also acknowledged the tireless efforts of around 5,000 volunteers who worked through the night to assist those affected. State Emergency Commissioner Caroline York highlighted that 60 community warnings remain in place for flooding regions. Disaster support has been initiated in a dozen areas to aid in cleanup efforts and provide emergency accommodation. Notably, this marks the region's 7th flood in the past 18 months. Experts have consistently warned of the exacerbating effects of climate change on natural disasters like floods, bushfires, and cyclones. And finally, in sports news, following Bayern Munich's unexpected 3-2 loss to Heidenheim, Lothar Matthäus has called for the dismissal of manager Thomas Tuchel before their UEFA Champions League encounter with Arsenal. Speaking to Sky, Matthäus highlighted the lack of chemistry between Tuchel and the players, suggesting it could jeopardize their Champions League campaign. With Bayern's hopes resting on the Champions League, Matthäus anticipates a swift decision from the club, possibly appointing an interim coach before their clash with Arsenal on Tuesday. And that concludes the news update at this hour on Trust Television. But remember, you can always follow us across all of our social media platforms and also join our YouTube live stream from our news, programs and documentary. Thank you so much for your time. I am Aisha Salihu.